what was the language? When was the first time you figured out that I can get paid to do this?
It was not probably the first time I thought I could get paid to do it was very shortly after I created my first language.
Really?
Um, yeah, I got this idea that I could create languages for other people for money. I went on America Online, where you could look at other people's profiles and see
Another
what
relic
interests they
of
have.
olden times.
Yeah, and I sent them. I picked out like 40 people, and
Hmm.
I sent them an email, something that we would later come to understand or know as spam.
Right.
I didn't. I didn't think anything of it at the time.
Right.
And so I sent these people an email that had keywords that I was looking for by hand in their profiles, suggesting that I could create a language for them for $40.
Right.
Um, and one person responded, a guy in high school who wanted a language for his D&D campaign. And so I created this language for him, really on pencil and paper, and mailed it to him. He was in Oklahoma.
Wow.
And he mailed me back a check for $40. Um, it was shortly after this time that I found the language creation community online.
Really.
And,
And
and
had those
yeah,
guys
and
also
that was,
figured it out this way too? Like, do other people
they'd,
also start
though
like this?
they'd figured out the truth that there was no money in language creation at all. Absolutely none.
You're right.
And not only that, I figured out as I started to look at everybody else's languages that I was not very good at this. In fact, I was really bad at creating languages.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I shut down that original website and basically started to study and learn and get better at creating languages. Um, but in learning their stories, though, I really kind of understood where language creators stood in society and in the world.
Right.
Because I mean, these are people, many of whom were in their 40s, 50s, 60s, even
Right.
talking about how none of their friends or family knew that they created languages. None of their coworkers knew how they would bring it up, and they would get laughed at and ridiculed.
Right.
It's like this is not something that people value.
Yeah.
Which blew me away, because when I came up with the idea on my own, it was something that required a lot of expertise. It
Right.
took a lot of time, and it took a lot of skill, right? And so it was intellectually rigorous,
Right.
because there were so many different aspects to it. And so I assumed that it had immense inherent value, and that everybody else should see this.
Hmm.
And so it was a little shocking to me to discover the way that language creators were treated.
Right.
Not just in our country, but everywhere else in the world.
Right.
And and you know I and especially as I started to see everybody else's languages and see how good they were, how much better they were than mine, it was especially upsetting to me that they would be treated that way. But there was little that one could do about it,
Right.
just as a lone language creator. In fact, that when I first told somebody in the linguistics department at Berkeley that I was creating a language, they laughed at me.
Right.
And that was, I mean, coming from, again, my arrogant teenage self, who
Right.
assumed that everything that I did was amazing and perfect. It was really a window into a different world, And so I kind of, made it my goal to talk about it to everybody, to show them what I was doing, because I thought that what we were doing as language creators was something immensely valuable, and I thought everybody else should see it.
Right.
And so, I wasn't shy about talking about it. little by little, of course, things started to change, but at least within, linguistics,
Right.
where I started to see that what we were doing was being valued. But nevertheless, there was never any expectation that we would get to a point where language creators would be paid.
Right.
If it was going to happen, maybe 60, 70 years down the line,
Yeah.
And so when the Game of Thrones job came up, it was a complete and total shock that such a thing, first of all, would ever happen, that they would actually hire language creators as opposed to random people to do the job.
Right.
And that it was going to be we didn't know that the show itself was going to be, big and huge and successful.
Sure.
But
yeah.
we knew that it was going to be on HBO. And, so whatever life it was going to have, if it was on HBO, it was going to be serious.
Right. Right.
It wasn't going to be something that was on like, UPN or something like that.
Yeah.
So, whatever it was going to be, this was going to be a big deal just because it was on HBO.
Right.
And so, like, this literally happened, overnight. There was no ramp up. It was just one day. We all lived in a world where language creators were never going to make any money
Right.
or have any respect doing what they were doing.
Yeah.
And then the next day, suddenly there's a job and we're going to make money and we're probably going to get some attention and respect. And that was it. Completely overnight. Was no ramp up at all.